A serial killer specializing in murdering young women has appeared in the small town. He even has a group of blind supporters helping him propagate the idea that women should know their place. As I prepare to go out, a neighbor advises me, "Are you wearing a skirt? It's not safe these days." I smile. That's right, he isn't safe. Everyone knows that criminals target the weak, women, and children because if they die or get hurt, he won't dare expose himself to the light. Why can't he just settle down a bit instead of attracting the attention of a crazy person like me? My best friend, Jong Nin, accidentally witnessed a murder scene while walking at the night market. According to her, the night market was bustling at the time, crowded with people, and the atmosphere was very lively. Suddenly, a blood-soaked girl rushed out from the crowd, scaring everyone into backing away. When she opened her mouth to cry for help, I saw that her tongue had been cut out. Then she fell down and died right on the spot. It wasn't until the body completely collapsed and Jang Nin ran over to check that she discovered the girl was completely naked, covered in crisscrossing wounds, with red blood masking her skin tone. The most disgusting thing was that a word had been carved into her buttocks with a knife. Fuck. So, an unlucky person like Jong Nin went home and had nightmares all night. The next morning, as soon as she calmed down, she went online to look for news. Someone dug up that the girl was an ordinary vocational school student who wasn't very well behaved. She had a boyfriend at a young age, and her way of dressing was quite revealing. Jang Nin couldn't hold back her anger and posted a comment. She was only a teenager. Besides, dressing a bit coolly isn't a reason to kill someone. The result? She was mocked by a crowd of people. Oh my, still worrying about fighting for feminism at a time like this? Don't butt in. Let us go scream at the killer. To protect your rights, I support you wearing really cool clothes and taking a walk. Attached was a series of intentionally revealing clothing photos. Thus, a hornet's nest of perverts was poked, and a series of unsightly, indecent clothing images quickly appeared below. We can chip in to buy clothes for you. Do you dare to use your life to protect the freedom of dress? Someone even posted a photo of her at the scene when she took off her coat to cover the victim's body. You have to be careful, don't get targeted by the killer. Jang Nin was almost broken by this wave of cyberbullying. She immediately deleted all photos on her social media accounts and came to my house crying. Are they even human? Why is everyone so excited? I was playing on the computer, looked up at her, didn't know how to comfort her, so I thought I'd find something for her to do. I'm hungry, I want to eat Jongnin noodles. Okay. She was still sobbing, but trotted off to cook noodles for me. I looked at the photos of the scene, which were accidentally saved before the platform censorship deleted them. The wounds on the girl's body were crisscrossed, all caused by mechanical tools, especially concentrated on the upper body, mostly torture wounds. The lower body was relatively intact, with not even signs of being tied. The cause of death, looking at the pool of blood on the ground, wasn't hard to guess. It was probably due to excessive blood loss. Why did the killer tie her hands, but not her feet, leaving her legs for her to run? Maybe she didn't run out on her own. I mumbled. Jang Nin turned back, choking back tears. Huh? I continued. The cuts on the veins are all very fresh, as if someone deliberately slit them to make her bleed, and only then released her to run out. Jang Nin's hands trembled. Huh? I curled my lips. This is probably a body dumping scene, only he chose a more special way to dump the body. Waiting until Jang Nin was sound asleep, I stayed up all night to design a virus, using the victim's photo as bait, exclusive goods, extremely sharp photos of the naked corpse at the night market. Then I set an IP address and spread it on the underground forums of the perverts. Let them trap themselves. In addition, I opened Jong Nin's phone, looked at the list of people who had cursed her, then created a chat group and pulled all of them into it.
What group is this?
I chatted. I have extremely sharp scene photos, many angles. Want to see?
Yes. Send it. Long live the group admin.
I dropped the virus link in. Honestly, normal people wouldn't just click on a strange link. But this group clearly wasn't normal people. I waited for more than half an hour. No one spoke in the chat group anymore. Very good, all wiped out. A bunch of idiots. There is a saying, criminals are the best psychological profiling experts. Am I a criminal? I'm just someone who was diagnosed with a lack of empathy since childhood, with a high probability of developing into an antisocial person, that's all. But I understand how to simulate the behavior of those around me to try to appear normal. Actually, saying I lack empathy isn't entirely accurate. For example, I empathize very easily with these perverts. I know he considers himself a god. Seeing many people attack the victim, he automatically understands it as praise for him. I can imagine his joy, excitement, and sense of satisfaction. Honestly speaking, this kind of pervert makes one just want to crush and trample him. I fell asleep with anticipation. The next day I went out for a trip. Just as I reached the residential area, I met Aunt Truong, who lived in the same complex. She hurriedly called me over. "Wow, you're wearing a skirt?" I smiled. "Yes, is there something wrong?" Aunt Truong hesitated. "It's not safe these days. The situation isn't that serious. I still have to wear a skirt." Aunt Truong sighed. "You kids just treat it like a small matter." But she looked me up and down and said, "I have to admit this dress is beautiful. It would be a pity not to wear it." She warned me to only walk around here. Don't go far, especially don't go to An Nin Street. She said An Nin Street was where the incident happened the other day. I smiled. "Yes, Aunt Truong. Sorry, I lied to you." Leaving the residential area, I drove straight to An Nin Street. That day Jong Nin said she would walk around the night market and sent me photos of bright lights and crowds of people, extremely lively. But I came here during the day and the scene was extremely desolate, especially with almost no girls in sight. Even if one or two people passed by, they hurried along. As for me, wearing a super short skirt wandering through here must be a rare case. See, if this world has no girls, it really isn't okay at all. Tu Don. I turned my head and saw my brother, Tu Tung, running over, looking angry. "Oh my, you look miserable." His eyes were bloodshot, probably just got off work and came back to examine the scene. Looking at his frustrated appearance, the case probably hasn't progressed. He rushed over, staring at my short skirt.
Don't you dare use yourself as bait to lure him out. You are not his type. Go home immediately.
Oh, so this is indeed a serial killer. Because only serial killers have fixed tastes, and the police can analyze his preferences. I brushed his hand away. I didn't come to fish for him. I came to buy milk tea.
Milk tea? What milk tea? Go back immediately.
You buy it for me. I'll go back right after drinking. My brother thought for a moment and agreed. Because he looked about to collapse from exhaustion, he probably wanted to sit down and rest for a bit. We found a milk tea shop, and just as we sat down, I dropped a bombshell. "Is it possible the killer is nearby?" My brother froze. I turned my head to look at the street. This whole desolate area is his achievement too. Look at the shop owner's gloomy face, and even you, a police officer running around everywhere. He will definitely come back to enjoy his results. My brother realized I was trying to extract information, so he decisively remained silent, but he couldn't shut me up. I guess he's young, physically fit. Saying that, I glanced at his face. He shook his head.
Stop guessing blindly. I can't reveal details of the case.
I laughed. Young was just a wild guess. Because to control a small girl, it doesn't necessarily have to be a young man. But looking at your face, it seems the killer isn't young anymore. Thinking about this being a serial killer, his crime spree must have spanned many years. The police can only determine his age thanks to this. He might have a medical background, used to work with you guys, or even served time for something. He's very confident, isn't he? Confident that he can wipe out all traces, playing cat and mouse with you guys?
Not necessarily.
From the fact that he cut the victim's tongue, one can see. Realizing he had just let me extract more information, he immediately shut his mouth. Just then the milk tea was brought over. He placed the cup in front of me.
Drink up. Stop being nosy.
Yeah. Anyway, I had heard what I needed to hear. When I got home, Jong Nin came down to bring me food. Hearing I just came back from meeting my brother, she asked, "Any progress?" I replied, "Quite difficult." Looking at his face, I can see my guesses were right. But at the same time, It proves the police discovered this long ago. They must have even cross-referenced old cases and narrowed down a number of suspects. But the killer is definitely a master of erasing traces. Having started this game, he won't easily reveal loopholes. Not to mention he understands police investigation procedures very well. My brother and his colleagues are too passive. Jiang Nin was still very optimistic. I believe in the police. I smiled. I believe too, catching him is just a matter of time. Oh, I have a big job with a deadline recently. Help me bring up the food. Okay. Jiang Nin left. I shifted my gaze to a place very few people notice, a forum for deduction enthusiasts. If this is a serial murder and the killer has such a strong desire to show off, it will definitely attract the attention of this group. I used the victim's characteristics as search keywords. Sure enough, there was a harvest. Someone had dug up a case very similar to this one, which happened 10 years ago. The post author had followed this case for a long time and revealed many details. For example, the killer would choose to attack young girls who were somewhat neglected by society. He has very clear preferences. Victims are all female students with long, black, straight hair, petite figures, childish faces, and usually quite rebellious personalities. Once capturing the victim, he would imprison and torture them, estimated to last about 7 days. The dense wounds on the body were caused by small wires, which over time would cut into the victim's flesh every time they struggled. He definitely has a medical background, because besides cutting the victim's tongue, he also accurately slit many veins on their bodies, even giving them a small amount of painkillers. This unique way of handling the body also requires high technique. He has to calculate extremely accurately to make the victim die exactly where he wants. Therefore, the possibility of a copycat case can be ruled out. Last time there were 3 victims. The frequency of crimes was once every 6 months to a year. Moreover, he committed crimes in many different cities. 3 bodies were found in Tay City, Kui City, and D City respectively. He seemed to choose the city and target randomly, making the investigation extremely difficult. 10 years later, he struck again. I pondered. 10 years, but serial killers usually find it very hard to control the urge to kill. How could he hold back for 10 years? At that moment, I had a very strong feeling. Perhaps the killer was also reading the same post as me. He sees others paying attention to and analyzing him, and deludes himself that they admire him. He and I were staring at the screen together. I decided to drop some bait first. So, I created an account named Psychological Profiler on several hot platforms. Then I wrote an analysis post, as provocative as possible. Dan Truyen, reading the post, this is a serial murder, not a sexual assault case. The killer only intentionally staged a situation with sexual elements. Moreover, in all cases, he used support tools, which shows a very high possibility that he suffers from physiological dysfunction. The killer seems to act decisively and confidently, but in reality, the fact that he only chooses weak women as prey is the clearest evidence of his impotence and inferiority in life. Perhaps he has been ignored by women, which makes him angry. Killing gives him a sense of control, making him think he is strong, but unfortunately, it's all an illusion. According to my speculation, he has a thin, short physique, pale skin, looking sickly and ugly. If the police check medical records, they might find his history of andrological examinations. He is very likely a hopeless eunuch. I just made it up, most of it probably inaccurate, but it would definitely make him mad. I even created several sock puppet accounts to boost engagement for the post, keeping it from being buried. Unexpectedly, looking back, the post had exploded, with traffic pouring in continuously. Nom, town detective, I'm going crazy. The OP makes sense. Eunuchs who turn perverted are the scariest. Nom, andrologist, I'm starting to look through patient records, brothers. Don't let me find him. New, canary, is it possible he's bald? If he has kidney failure, he surely loses a lot of hair. Nom, fat cat shock. The serial killer is actually an impotent middle-aged bald guy. Watching everyone enthusiastically fanning the flames, suddenly an ID caught my attention. Nom, safe life for good people with the OP's level. You dare call yourself a psychological profiling expert? No matter how you people smear him, he is still an indisputable criminal genius. I paused slightly. Triggered so fast? But thinking about it, I understood. After all, he had just caused a major event and was currently immersed in the afterglow of satisfaction. Being mocked by others like this, he naturally wouldn't be happy. However, I still needed to confirm a bit more. It was late at night, and many people started throwing stones at the ID Safe Life for Good People. Perhaps he didn't realize that everyone was just analyzing the case, and only he was praising the criminal. If he were the type of criminal with a rebellious spirit against authority, it wouldn't be worth mentioning, but he is just a piece of trash specializing in torturing and murdering young women. This made others unable to accept it. He didn't seem tired either, arguing back and forth with everyone, trying hard to protect his pitiful ego. Just then, a new idea appeared, taking his side. Scissors actually, I think the OP hasn't studied the details of the case carefully. The killer cleaned up the scene in a textbook class manner. This sentence immediately gave the ID Safe Life for Good People a foothold. Safe Life for Good People, someone who doesn't even understand the case, clearly dares to go online and call themselves a profiling expert. The ID Scissors started discussing the details of the case, looking like a hardcore fan of the killer. Safe Life for Good People, that's why I say, he has a very high IQ, a criminal genius. Here we go again, he's floating on cloud 9. I couldn't help but laugh. He really is the type of person most easily stroked that I've ever met. However, the ID Scissors was my sock puppet account. Scissors criminal genius? Too much praise. He escaped simply because investigation technology back then was backward and legal procedures had many loopholes. In reality, he's just a piece of trash. Then I switched through 10 other sock puppet accounts, continuing to echo ID Scissors. There were also some passersby who automatically joined in. The whole forum was flooded with comments. Trash, hold the formation, trash. A moment later, ID Safe Life for Good People sent a private message to ID Scissors. Safe Life for Good People, do you know who you have offended? I smiled slightly. His feeling of satisfaction had just been broken, and he fell into a state of agitation again. It's very likely he will want to kill again. So I sent him a photo. It was a photo I took today, wearing a short skirt walking on an Nin Street, with the sign of the famous milk tea shop behind me. My brother, a straight guy, is excellent at taking photos of corpses, but terrible at photographing people. But it's okay, as long as the skirt is short enough. Scissors, didn't you say he was amazing? But there are still girls walking freely right at the crime scene. No matter what he does, the women he hates still never regard him as anything. Because from the start, they saw through him that he only dares to attack small, weak girls, right? You piece of trash. ID Safe Life for Good People was silent for a long time, then he went offline. I knew his lust had been crushed by me. Whether as a killer or a killer worshipper, the murder of weak girls could no longer satisfy him. But that wasn't the most important thing. The important thing is that after just a little time, I located him. Just then, it was dawn. I called my brother, that unlucky guy. Sure enough, he was awake too. From the sound over the phone, I heard police dogs. My heart moved slightly. Deploying police dogs so early in the morning? I asked bluntly. Another dead body? My brother sighed helplessly.
Don't. I can't tell you.
I glanced at the computer screen, which showed his location, the morgue. This situation almost certainly meant no body was left behind. I curled my lips. Then let me tell you. I've hooked him. His location is the morgue. My brother was silent for a few seconds, then immediately started cursing. He said he would come to see me this afternoon. Even though he felt something was wrong, he couldn't help but come. In the afternoon, while I was sleeping in, my brother let himself in. I scratched my head. Open my computer and look at this post. From this morning. This post completely revealed confidential police information. Specifically, during the autopsy, a finger belonging to another victim was found in the victim's stomach, along with some evidence related to the location. But the point is the killer intentionally placed it there, It was inherently part of his game. My brother stared at the screen.
He's crazy.
I gave a faint smile. He was provoked. He could have sat back and watched the police busy investigating, but he proactively revealed this detail. However, the account posting this isn't Safe Life for Good People anymore, but a new ID, Chasing Light. I checked, these two IDs don't share the same IP address. My brother's face started to show clear anger. I asked, ID Chasing Light claims to be an insider. What do you think? He shook his head.
No.
I laughed softly. The killer made a mistake, but he hasn't realized it yet. A finger became a breakthrough? Truly my brother. He has a worshipper. I raised my eyebrows. Of course, it could also be an accomplice. My brother said nothing more, just took the list of accounts and IP addresses I provided and left. I glanced at the screen. ID Chasing Light was still jumping around. The police found no evidence. Total failure. I smiled faintly. Luckily, I'm not the police. I don't need evidence. I ignored him and went back to private messaging. ID Safe Life for Good People. I'm coming to find you. Actually, I still had some doubts. ID Safe Life for Good People seemed to carry heavy personal emotions, but ID Chasing Light seemed much more professional than him. One at the morgue, one in the Villa district. I decided to go to the morgue first to see. In the afternoon, I packed my bags and told Jong Nin I had to go away for a trip. She asked, "How long will you be gone?" I thought for a moment. Probably about 2 days. Jong Nin breathed a sigh of relief. That's good then. I frowned. What's wrong with you? She shook her head. Nothing. I didn't believe her, so I stared at her. Finally, she had to open her phone to show me. In her messages on social media, there were many people mocking and threatening her. They told her to be careful, that the killer might target her. I read each message and calmly told her, they can stop being busybodies. The killer has been locked down. He won't dare to make a move in the short term. Jang Nin opened her eyes wide. Really? I nodded. Yeah. Suddenly I discovered one of the people messaging her was the most enthusiastic. He had the ID sparkle. The message content. Sister, do you know you look exactly like the victim? I immediately opened the computer in my suitcase and started tracking his location. Jong Nin saw me suddenly tense up and asked worriedly, "Is something wrong?" I stared at the screen. He's different from the rest. He knows the killer has a specific preferred victim type. Just as I finished speaking, the system retrieved his IP address. Sure enough, it was ID Chasing Light. I frowned. It's okay, he's also been locked down. Presumably because Jang Nin had spoken up on hot videos, plus the fact that she was too beautiful, she had attracted the attention of this pervert. The psychology of these people is really hard to describe. They take advantage of shocking cases, reenact the killer's psychology, and then search for potential victims to harass to satisfy their own perverted pleasures. I looked at Jong Nin. Don't log into your account for the time being. I dragged my suitcase to find an abandoned 3-story house opposite the Thonia morgue to rent temporarily. This house had been vacant for many years because it was too close to the morgue, and most of the surrounding residents had moved away. The landlord handed over the key and left immediately in a hurry. I stood on the 3rd floor using binoculars to observe below. Not long after, the police arrived and took him away. He was tall, looking only about 40 years old, wearing a set of gray clothes. Under high-resolution binoculars, I clearly saw his face wasn't ugly. His hair was neatly groomed. When taken to the police car, he even gave a helpless smile. I looked towards the person in charge of the morgue. He was exchanging something with the police, relying on body language, seemingly trying to protect his employee. He is ID Safe Life for Good People. I had hacked into the data system of Thonia morgue and found his information. His name is Tong, 51 years old this year, just matching the predicted age of the killer. As for ID Chasing Light, he is only 32 years old. 10 years ago, he was even abroad. According to the records, Tong spent time working in circus troupes and art troupes. His job constantly moved from one place to another, fitting the characteristic of committing crimes in many cities of the killer. He has never been married, has no children. In his old age, he applied to work at the Morgue as a cremator. This morgue is under state management, but has long been in decline, mostly accepting homeless bodies and executed prisoners. He held 3 positions concurrently: cremator, body carrier, and security guard. Perhaps this is why his superior just tried to cover for him. To others, Tong is just a bit narcissistic but hardworking and honest. Night fell. Looking out at the scattered lights, the whole area was terrifyingly desolate. Truly a perfect place to commit a crime without being detected. The police focusing on him was completely logical. I opened the deduction forum. Sure enough, ID Chasing Light was jumping around again. He even wrote a long analysis post. Chasing Light, today the police came to the morgue to arrest someone. If the killer really works at the morgue, why didn't he use his position to just burn the corpses along with the homeless bodies? Yet he chose a more sophisticated disposal method. I can only say, too brilliant. Here we go again. Analyzing the case is one thing, but what the hell is praising the criminal for? Town detective, if you're a pervert, just say you're a pervert. What's with the bragging? Andrologist, the OP definitely has a sickness. Fat cat, before. The analysis had some logic. Today it's all nonsense. I thought for a while and opened the private messages of ID Chasing Light. Then I sent him a photo of himself. Chasing Light, what do you mean? Chasing Light, do you know who you're offending? Oh, this tone sounds so familiar. I didn't answer but started sending his personal information directly. New, Chat Dongmin. Male. 32 years old. Chasing Light, who exactly are you? New, chat surgeon at Hospital X. Chasing Light, you think finding personal info makes you impressive? Even scammers can do that. New, chat married. Wife is Tran Hung. Has a daughter. This time he was silent for a long time, then he typed again. Chasing Light, what do you want? New, chat harmonious family, affectionate couple, no signs of psychological trauma, no history of mental illness. Chasing Light, if you dare touch my family, killing you is easier for me than crushing an ant. I laughed. Oh, when he worshipped the killer, harassed Zhang Nin under an anonymous mask, turning himself into a wild beast, did he ever think that he also had a family, was also a human being? I sent him another photo. New, chat, here is your family photo. Your daughter is really cute. He was silent for a long time again. Finally, he replied. Chasing Light, don't think that because you hide online I can't find you. I will definitely kill you. I looked at the screen. Oh, is it that fun? So I sent him my location. New, chat, I have to go out tonight. I left the door open waiting for you. Immediately after that, this idiot logged out of the system. I was taking a nap when Zhang Nin called. Her voice sounded tense. Don, where are you? I was bewildered. What's wrong? Zhang Nin said another body appeared right near our neighborhood. She was panicked. Is he targeting me? Or did he mistake me for that girl? I immediately opened social media. Sure enough, news on free platforms spread faster than any other source. I downloaded the high-quality image. It looked exactly like the last time, so similar that if no one told me, I would have thought the previous body was moved to a different location. I reassured Zhang Nin, this girl was captured and murdered beforehand according to a meticulous plan. It has nothing to do with you. The killer did this on purpose. The police just arrested someone, and he immediately dumped the body. These 2 victims must have been captured at the same time and tortured for many days, consistent with his crime pattern. This has nothing to do with Zhang Nin. She was still trembling slightly. So when are you coming back? I looked out the window, thinking for a moment. Earliest is tomorrow. Don't be afraid, just stay home, wear your tracking watch. Zhang Nin took a breath. Okay. Hanging up the phone, I calmed down and checked her location on my phone. She was still at home. Even though the killer had just appeared again, I still felt something was unusual about this morgue. Anyway, thinking too much is useless. Best to go in and see for myself. I stood up and walked leisurely towards the morgue gate. The security guard was dozing off. Hearing footsteps, He started awake. Our eyes met. Immediately after, he bowed his head, pretending not to see me. I looked down at the white jumpsuit I was wearing. All right then, I'll walk into this morgue openly. Still the old style, no mirrors, no surveillance cameras. Rumors say it's to avoid violating taboos. But being an old unit, the area was terrifyingly large. And Tom usually worked at the cremation area, but in this morgue complex, there were still 2 abandoned cremation ovens, surrounded by vacant areas. I raised my flashlight and stepped into the darkness. Suddenly something darted out, making a wheezing sound. I shone the flashlight towards it. A stray dog was wagging its dirty tail. I smiled slightly at it. It immediately tucked its tail and scurried away. I continued holding the flashlight, walking deeper inside. There was also a wild cat in the tree that I startled. It zoomed off, causing a flock of startled birds to fly in chaos. It was already autumn, but the weeds in the garden still grew lushly, vines tangled so messily that the path couldn't be distinguished. Looking at this, one knew usually no one passed by here. Otherwise, the path would definitely have been trodden down. I was busy thinking when suddenly a woman's shrill laughter rang out from the woods. New, unknown voice, hee hee hee. I held the flashlight and walked on. Halfway, I accidentally stepped on something mushy. I shone the light down, intending to see if a stray dog had pooped, and I stepped in it. Suddenly, the hee 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 sound rang out again. This time it seemed a bit closer. I looked down and saw under my feet was just a pile of mud, so I breathed a sigh of relief and wiped my shoe to the side to clean it. New, unknown voice, hee hee hee. I raised the flashlight and shone it straight towards where the sound came from. A vague figure appeared. As soon as the light hit, the first thing I saw was long hair matted into pitch-black patches. Startled by the light, she turned her face away in panic. I frowned. Under the light, every crevice on that face was full of mud. The corner of her mouth still had something black stuck to it. Unclear what it was, but I only caught a glimpse before she darted away. Hey! She was skinny, but surprisingly fast, rushing away like a wild animal. As I chased, she suddenly jumped up and climbed straight up a tree. Is this even a human? I held the flashlight in my mouth and rushed after her. She was extremely agile, and moreover seemed very familiar with the terrain, while I was limited by the light, completely unable to predict her direction of movement. But I definitely had to catch her. A crazy woman appearing near Antong's work area and in a perfect place for committing crimes. Something was wrong. Perhaps cornered by me, she climbed onto a branch and then suddenly turned around and threw herself straight at me. I didn't react in time and was tackled to the ground by her. At the same time, a stray dog also rushed over and bit my shoe. She went completely crazy, having no attack rules whatsoever. Her hands grabbed my neck, her mouth mumbling meaningless words, her voice hoarse, as if her throat had been burned. I landed a punch straight to push her away. She immediately ran away on all fours as fast as a hunted beast. I intended to chase, but suddenly one of my feet sank, falling into a mud pit. My ankle seemed to be held by something. I looked down and shone the flashlight. A pale hand rose from the earth holding my leg tightly. I quietly pulled out my phone. Hello, I'm reporting a case. There is a body here. My brother led the team and arrived very quickly. As soon as he saw me, he revealed a look of despair.
Go to the side.
Oh. I obediently walked to the area outside the cordon. A policewoman walked over and asked me, New, policewoman, how did you find it? I laughed. I was just looking for little Kim. New, policewoman, little Kim? I picked up a stray dog, it ran in here. I even greeted the security guard. I glanced at the security guard. He stood right behind the policewoman, his face indescribable. I waved at him. Uncle, didn't you see me enter here? The security guard's face changed abruptly, he stammered. Nom, security guard, yes. Just then the police pulled up a body. It was a man who had been embalmed, definitely dead for a very long time. My ears are sharp. I vaguely heard the forensic doctor exchanging words with the assistant. Nom, forensic doctor, the body is male. Time of death is very hard to determine, but could be over 6 months. I was focusing on listening when my brother approached. He looked at me with a complicated expression, as if having 1,000 words to say but not knowing where to start. Finally, he could only grit his teeth and say one sentence.
The scene is covered in your footprints.
The policewoman standing next to me kindly spoke up for me. "No, policewoman, don't be too harsh. She didn't do it on purpose anyway." Suddenly a scream from the woods rang out again. I raised my eyebrows. Right, there was also a crazy woman in the woods. Just as morning broke, I was taken back by the police to give a statement. The body was taken to the examination room, and the crazy woman was also arrested. She looked even more delirious than before, held tight by 2 policewomen, constantly shaking her head. Before getting in the car, I turned my head and glanced at her. She wasn't young anymore. Her skin was dark, but her eyes were still bright. I turned to my brother. "Brother, she's this old. How come her limbs are still so agile?" My brother frowned, looking confused.
Huh.
"Look at our dad. Back in the day, he traveled everywhere. Excellent physical strength. Yet just over 60, he got rheumatism. But regarding her, no matter what, she definitely hasn't lacked nutrition in recent years." My brother suddenly understood the issue.
Someone is feeding her.
I followed the police to the station for investigation. But currently, my brother was busy spinning like a top. 2 bodies, 2 scenes at once. He must be about to explode. Before leaving, he instructed a policewoman who looked very cool.
Watch my sister. Don't let her cause trouble.
The policewoman misunderstood, nodding seriously. "No, policewoman, don't worry." Waiting for my brother to leave, she solemnly looked at me, gently patting my shoulder to comfort me. "No, policewoman, don't be afraid. I will take good care of you." If my brother heard this sentence, he would definitely be angry enough to spit blood on the spot. I was interrogated because the scene had too many of my footprints. I pretended to be innocent, stalling for time as much as possible, constantly retelling small details. The recorder was a policewoman named Luke Dong, quite patient in stringing together every detail with me about when I met that crazy woman. After all, having a living person jumping around in the morgue is extremely unusual. I took the opportunity to probe. "She must live near Tong's work area, right?" Luke Dong sighed. "No, Luke Dong currently, and Tong has almost been ruled out as a suspect." I was stunned. Could it really be someone else? But the age didn't match at all. Unless this is a copycat murder, and the killer has simulated it perfectly. I tried to stall but eventually had to leave. Luke Dong personally saw me to the gate. I thought this trip yielded nothing, but just as I stepped out, I heard a panicked scream. "Nom, police officer, it's truly shocking. The serial killer from 10 years ago has been caught. The male body at the Morgue is the serial killer from 10 years ago. And Tong was the one who confirmed his identity. The body belongs to Chu Zut, who was once convicted of attempted sexual assault and went to prison. After getting out of prison, he hid by applying to work as a non-staff employee at this morgue. The crazy woman was also brought back by Chu Zut. Did he keep her right on the morgue grounds? This morgue had long been in decline, and the superiors didn't care to manage it. And Tong said that many years ago, Chu Zut frequently talked to young employees, mostly discussing methods of killing and disposing of bodies. At first, everyone just thought he was showing off, but gradually there were details that made others feel uneasy. Yet half a year ago, Chu Zut suddenly disappeared. No one cared because everyone thought he had moved elsewhere. But now, his body was found right on the morgue grounds. It seemed before dying, he left a wish: if he doesn't appear anymore, continue bringing rice to that crazy woman. Since it was just a small amount of money anyway, and Tong agreed. Additionally, Tong declared that Chu Zut never mentioned any accomplices. He had no friends and didn't meet anyone outside, only liked chatting online. The only person he paid was to hire someone to burn the bodies for disposal. Initially, he even helped Tong mix body parts into other corpses and cremate them together. Even if relatives came to claim the ashes, no one would notice if a part or two was missing, let alone the fact that the vast majority of families didn't dare to check thoroughly before cremation. Luke Dong heard this. Her face went pale. New, look Dong, you mean there are victims who are never found because their bodies were mixed with other people's corpses and burned to ash? A colleague next to her showed clear discomfort. Police officer, not only that, but it's possible those bodies were buried properly in the graves of strangers. Even in Tong didn't choose to mix the bodies with the homeless corpses because that way the police could trace the clues. The evidence has turned to dust, investigation becomes hopeless. Luke Dong looked at her colleague, her voice hoarse. New, Luke Dong, can we push all responsibility onto a dead person? The whole room fell silent. And Tong maintained a calm attitude, even giving a faint smile. And Tong, comrade police officer, I was just making a little money. Besides, evaluating cases online isn't illegal, is it? Even though he assisted the killer in disposing of bodies, he still played dumb, pretending he didn't break the law. Just stepping out of the police station, I immediately met an acquaintance, a young forensic assistant walking a dog. At a glance, it was a mongrel mixed with golden retriever, its fur dirty and matted. Seeing me, he happily said. Forensic assistant, isn't this the dog you picked up? It kept running after the police car forever. What dog? The forensic assistant was suddenly stunned, seemingly not understanding why I didn't recognize it. The dog wagged its tail in a friendly manner, looking very familiar with me. I squinted, feeling like I had met it somewhere. Wait, this is the stray dog that bit my shoe last night. Before I could say anything, the assistant shoved the leash into my hand. Forensic assistant, take it back. Remember to do the adoption paperwork. He turned and left, mumbling, finally solved one thing. I looked down at the dog. The dog also looked up at me. You're little Kim? The dog barked woof. After barking, it circled around me several times. All right, I officially have a dog. I still had things to do, so I just said coldly to it. Follow me, don't cause trouble. The dog obediently woof, Ed. Based on what was gathered, did this serial murder case 10 years ago really have only one killer, or was there a copycat? Did the current killer learn Chuzut's methods, or was he an accomplice from the start? At first, he was still careful hiding bodies, using the morgue for disposal, but later it seemed just hiding bodies wasn't enough, so he started getting bolder, leaving bodies in public places. According to Intong's words, this new killer is completely unlike Chuzut. The whole police station seemed covered by a dark cloud. In this situation, finding evidence was hard. Finding bodies was even harder. Chuzut had hidden for 10 years, and finally, his body was discovered. If the new killer also flees, won't everything sink into darkness for another decade? What's more frightening is that the police don't even have the bodies of all victims, and the only person who might know the truth is likely still hiding somewhere. I looked at the newly picked up dog and asked, "What do you want to eat?" It looked at me. Woof. I bought it a pack of rice crackers, got back to the rental, and threw the whole pack for it to tear open and eat itself. Anyway, I maintain my view. The killer is definitely lurking on the deduction forum. While the dog was busy tearing the crackers, I opened the computer. The screen was immediately flooded with posts from my chasing light. This guy popped up again? He just publicized some details of the investigation regarding Intong's cremation area. Then he wrote, "Criminal psychological profiling is just a farce." The police actually consider it a basis for investigation? Must be a joke. I also received several private messages. Many people asked what I thought about that post. Clearly, Chasing Light is trying to restore the killer's reputation. He wants to prove the killer isn't an idiot and at the same time consolidate his own status. But the problem here is that what he says are details never publicized. Although the deduction forum always has people who like to show off, this exceeds the limit. I hadn't had time to think it through when Jang Nin sent a message. New, Jang Nin's message don, that pervert is in my shop. Just as the message was sent, she attached a photo. It was Dong Min. This bastard dares to show his face? I immediately messaged back. New, message, I will call you, just answer but don't speak, and don't get agitated. Not waiting for her to ask more, I called her immediately. Jang Nin picked up. I led the dog, running home while calling. From my place back home was 40 to 50 kilometers. Even driving at top speed would take nearly an hour. I drove, listening to the conversation in the shop through the phone. Did this Dong-min intentionally choose Jong-nin? There's a high probability he recognized her beforehand, or maybe he was even playing the role of one of the people who harassed her online. Dong-min-oh, your profile picture looks no different from real life. This guy even remembers her profile picture. Could he be one of the people who harassed Jong-nin online recently? Jang-nin was a bit overly worried. She kept her voice polite. Jong-nin, sorry, if you aren't ordering, I have to get back to work. Dong-min, don't be like that. Sit down and chat a bit. Jang-nin didn't respond. He lowered his voice again, intentionally speaking softer. Dong-min, hey, do you think the night market killer will find you? Jong-nin, what kind of joke are you making? He smirked, not hiding his intentions at all. Dong-min, I'm saying he has chosen you. What do you think? Jong-nin, if you keep talking nonsense, I'll call the police. He smiled faintly. Dong-min, call them. What crime do you think they will charge me with? Harassment? Jang-nin, it was still daytime. She was right in her shop. People were still passing by. A moment later, a few other customers walked in, neighbors coming to pick up food for their small children. Normally, Jong-nin specializes in making baby food, so many parents come to order. A young mother laughed and said, Neighbor Sister Jong, without you today, I really wouldn't know what to do with my kid. Several others also chimed in. Neighbor 2, that's right, you really are our savior. Jong-nin laughed in response. Jong-nin, it's nothing, I do it a lot so I'm used to it. Thanks to these people, the atmosphere in the shop became more relaxed, seemingly reducing the sense of danger from Dong-min's appearance. But I knew everything wasn't over. As soon as I arrived, I saw Jong-nin carrying a trash bag out from the back door. Just as I stopped the car, I walked over. Dong-min was following behind her, his eyes glued to her back. Jong-nin seemed to sense something. Startled, she turned her head back. Jong-nin, why are you following me? Dong-min smiled. Dong-min, what are you afraid of? Jong-nin, are you sick? Jong-nin couldn't hold back anymore, blurting out. He smiled even brighter. Dong-min, why are you so fierce? A beauty shouldn't be so hot-tempered. Jong-nin immediately ran into the shop, locking the back door tight. Good job. I was just about to circle to the front door when the stupid dog in my car suddenly rushed straight out. Dong-min was startled and almost jumped, but this dog didn't attack him at all but wagged its tail happily. I shouted angrily. Whose side are you on? Get back here. But it ignored me, kept standing there wagging its tail at Dong-min. Dong-min kicked it hard. The dog tucked its tail and ran towards me, eyes looking aggrieved. I was even more angry. What are you doing kicking my dog? Dong-min rolled up his sleeves, replying coldly. Dong-min, a crazy stray dog. So, what if I kill it? Looks like you really are the type who considers online moral standards as law, huh? ID chasing light? He froze. I laughed. Oh, got recognized? Dong-min narrowed his eyes at me. He had narrow, long eyes, looking polite and calm at first glance. A guy like him, if he actively struck up a conversation with women on the street, at least wouldn't be rejected immediately. But who knew he was even scarier than an animal? At this moment, he realized who I was. He gave a cold laugh. Dong-min, you're quite bold, daring to actively seek me out. I calmly took a step forward, speaking in an even voice. What do you think of the shop owner? Changing your taste a bit? He frowned. Dong-min, what are you saying? She's not your type, right? Dong-min's eyes gradually shifted to wariness, then to an aggressive attitude. Then he laughed coldly. Dong-min, you're crazy. Do you think talking nonsense like this has any effect? Go report to the police if you're capable. I shook my head, tone mocking. Oh, are you sure your psychology is stable enough? You used to be very confident cleaning up scenes, confident that you were a criminal genius, but now you're eager to get into the police station to present your views? He smiled contemptuously, trying to break free from me. I loosened my hand, intentionally letting him escape a bit. He took a deep breath, regaining his confidence. adjusting his clothes. Nam, Dong-min, I truly hate women like you the most. And I hate people like you the most. Nam, Dong-min, do you think because you have the right to education, read a few books, watch a few movies, shout a few slogans, that you can forget who you are? Oh, I completely didn't expect him to say that. I looked at him, giving a meaningful smile. I knew you had psychological issues, but I didn't expect you to be this severely crazy. Nam, Dong-min, go report to the police. I don't care. Saying that, he turned and walked away. I was just about to chase Dong-min when Jong-nin ran out. She was overjoyed. New, Jong-nin, you're back? Wow, bringing Hakimi too. Who is this? Right then, the sound of a loud engine started from the head of the alley. A sports car sped off. I quickly sidestepped past Jong-nin, speaking fast. I still have some business, talk later. Jong-nin looked at my back and shouted. New, Jong-nin, what's wrong again? Have you eaten yet? I cooked curry. Feed it to the dog. I didn't turn my head back. Jong-nin mumbled, what dog eats curry? Dong-min had gotten in the car. He drove a convertible sports car. Seeing me chasing in a cheap car, he gave a faint smile, eyes full of contempt. He intentionally stepped on the gas to accelerate. I also pressed the gas. He passed the whole street, rushing straight onto the highway. I still stuck close behind. On the highway, he accelerated to the limit, clearly wanting to lose me. I floored the gas, bringing the car parallel to him. He turned his head in surprise, eyes a bit stunned, then immediately gritted his teeth, trying to force me to the side. I accelerated and overtook to block him. Immediately after, I heard his helpless cursing. I slowed down again to let him pass and continued to stick right to his tail. He was clearly going crazy with anger. Normally, who slows down while driving on the highway? Not obediently speeding up to escape, but intentionally provoking. For men, cars are like part of their self-esteem. Many consider it a symbol of power, speed, and control. But for a pervert like Dong-min, showing off driving skills and being provoked by a woman, he would definitely go mad. Finally, he turned off the highway, driving towards the outskirts. He started to realize something. It seemed I wasn't attracted by him, but I was actively leading him. He thought he was leading me into a trap. No, I was the one who wanted to take him to a special place. Finally, he stopped the car at the foot of a deserted mountain. This was a nature reserve with very few people passing by, clearly a perfect place to strike. He got out of the car. I also stopped right next to him. He angrily stepped forward, intending to question me. I stepped on the gas. My car rammed straight into the rear of his. Dong-min stared in horror as his billion-dong sports car was lifted up, the rear crushed. I opened the car door, whistling excitedly. Looking at the scene in front of me is truly beautiful. His beloved car has been completely deformed by me. He raised his hands to the sky, screaming something crazy I didn't care about. I continued ramming 7 or 8 more times until his car was crumpled, pressed tight against the cliff. Finally, I stepped out of the car. I saw his bewildered to dazed expression and gave a smile. Let me ask you a question. With this level of attack, do you have enough reason to call the police? Nam, Dong-min, what? Doesn't a normal citizen have a legitimate right to ask the law for protection? You're not very confident, are you? Didn't you always think you handled scenes very cleanly, confident that you were a criminal genius? But now you don't want to call the police? Why? Planning to say this is just a traffic accident? Caused by a crazy female driver hitting your car? He looked at the sports car that had been pressed into a pile of scrap metal, finally understanding something. He mumbled. Nam, Dong-min, you're not doing this for money, nor for destroying the car. You are too crazy. I calmly raised a thing in my hand, a sharp axe. The deserted nature reserve had not a soul, only the wrecked car and the two of us. I beat Dong-min nearly to death. I smashed every finger on his right hand, then used pliers to pull out 7 teeth. I shaved one side of his head and shaved off half an eyebrow too. His ribs were punched over a dozen times by me, but I controlled the force, not breaking the bones. I was a bit tired. He stared at me but still stubbornly refused to open his mouth. Finally, he spat out a mouthful of blood, asking me one question. Nam, Dong-min, how did you know? How did I know? Of course, because little Kim recognized you. After Choosit died, you were the one feeding that crazy woman, right? And Tong didn't know you, but a dog won't forget your scent. I don't know how Choosit died, but since he's a dead person, he has no value anymore. This guy had brutally killed so many girls, yet he kept a crazy woman. He tortured her, ruined her, but didn't kill her, even ensuring she was well-fed. I remembered the woman's appearance. Although thin and weak, her body still had vitality, not malnourished. This case could only be that Choosit both hated her and couldn't bring himself to kill her. The other girls were merely test subjects for him to practice on, waiting for the day to deal with the main course. It's just a pity he died before he could act. As for the guy in front of me, Dong Min, he worshipped Choosit, studied him, simulated him, even wanted to surpass him. He was extremely careful, even in Tong had never seen him appear. But he still couldn't control himself. He still had to sneak in to see the crazy woman, because Choosit was the soul guiding him, and he wanted to approach that soul. I smiled softly. Do you think little Kim is just a normal dog, Dong Min? I looked at him, sensing he was trying to crawl up, probably wanting to hit me. He gritted his teeth and said, Dong Min, what exactly do you want to do? Oh, didn't you hear clearly? A killer like you has no rights at all. Dong Min, go call the police. He screamed. But he still didn't dare to report it? So killing people's daughters is fun, but when you yourself are in danger, you're scared? I threw the phone down in front of him. You have two choices. Call your accomplices to save you or call the police. He looked up at me. I raised my eyebrows. I advise you to call the police. Otherwise, you will never be at peace in this life. I drove my car to park far away, enough to observe from a distance without being detected. About 20 minutes later, finally a car, not police, but his rescue car arrived. He chose to call people to save him rather than call the police. I sighed. Wouldn't it be better to be obedient? Everyone knows serial killers often have severe delusions, such as deluding themselves that they are experts in crime scene disposal, able to toy with the police, deluding themselves that they will never be caught. But a delusion is still just a delusion. Reality is easily shattered. Isn't it? In the end, he still had to lie rolling on the grass, enduring the pain, finally forced to call for help. In the evening, I returned home. A fluffy dog ran over to greet me. I frowned. Who are you? The dog shook its head and wagged its tail like a lion dance, looking a bit familiar. Jong Nin walked out happily saying, New, Jong Nin, it's Hakimi. I was even more confused. Hakimi? The dog barked woof. Oh, isn't it little Kim? New, Jong Nin, I bathed it clean, even took it to the vet, and did the dog registration paperwork too. I looked at her coldly. You dare to name it too? She nodded seriously. New, Jong Nin, Hakimi will protect me. Then she chased after Hakimi the dog. I wasn't without reason. Even though it didn't know how to bite people, nor how to attack, it knew how to bark. Most importantly, it only barked when meeting bad people. Maybe it deserved that name. I rested for 2 days. During those 2 days, Dong Min's location didn't leave his house. Seemed he didn't dare go to the hospital, but it didn't matter. He knew how to treat wounds himself. Moreover, his wife, Tran Hung, is a nurse. She surely could help him bandage up. In these 2 days, the police continuously issued missing person notices. Besides the crazy woman, they were looking for 6 more bodies. The first woman found had a severed finger in her stomach. I knew the remaining victims had been dismembered, buried scattered in different mass graves. With 6 bodies, the police might trace the clues, but didn't Ntong himself not have too much information? This investigation speed is truly amazing. I thought of my brother's bloodshot eyes from staying up all night, then I gave a cold smile. I wasn't idle enough to return to the deduction forum. I posted an article. Dan Trian, post, suppose you are a rich kid with a personality disorder, but nothing to do. You grew up in a wealthy family, but your parents divorced, and you have a very strong stepmother. She pretends to be gentle, but actually controls the family tightly. She also controls you, even beat you once. You hated that. You passed into medical school, were forced to go abroad to study. The years living abroad were your freest time. You hated her more and more, hated the controlled childhood. Who is she to dare manage you? You returned to the country, became a doctor, married an obedient wife, gave birth to a daughter. That wife was even grateful to be your mother's daughter-in-law. But what you hated most was that you yourself once called her mother. She didn't know that you always wanted to kill her. You started studying crime, studying how to kill, finding yourself a teacher. You learned all his methods, even upgraded them. By day you're a trustworthy doctor in the hospital. By night you frequently sneak into the morgue to practice techniques. Initially, you only helped dispose of bodies. Gradually you started selecting prey yourself. You wanted to reenact what your teacher used to do, but he rejected you. You felt let down. In your heart, he was deified. Perhaps because the traces of age were clear on his face, perhaps because he never killed that crazy woman, perhaps because before dying he still crawled back to that garden but couldn't fulfill his wish. You think should you make the same mistake as him? He died, and are you ready to inherit his path of killing? For the past 2 days, ID Chasing Light and ID Safe Life for Good People didn't speak up at all. The forum was unusually clean. But when I posted, immediately a storm of cursing erupted. Small-town Conan, are you crazy? What the hell is a reason for killing? New canary dying of laughter. Identification technology is so high nowadays. Try publishing the victim list. See how long he can hide. Big Orange is the best bet on it. This guy will be caught within a week. Andrologist, I feel this post is somewhat familiar, like a colleague of mine. Small-town Conan, the doctors will soon find a guy peeing his pants in the hospital, right? I knew he was reading, only he didn't dare respond. I deliberately wrote more. New profiler, do you really think you can replace him? Placing your own moral standards above everything? Andrologist, this OP is crazy. Who considers a pervert's standards as society's standards? Small-town Conan, we are at Forum X, not a gathering place for psychopaths. I lowered my head and laughed softly. A few days later, guessing Dong Min's injuries were better, I went to his house. He lived in a private villa in the west of the city. Tran Hung, his wife, just carried the baby back from outside. I greeted her like a newly arrived nurse, handing her a fake ID card. Tran Hung didn't look closely, just assessed me a bit, her expression somewhat strange. New, Tran Hung, come in. On the second floor, she handed the baby to the nanny, then went inside. I heard her speak gently to Dong Min. New, Tran Hung, there's a new nurse coming to visit you. Dong Min didn't answer. I walked in. He started up and sat up abruptly, eyes full of bloodshot veins glaring at me. Tran Hung stepped back whispering. New, Tran Hung, be careful. He hoarsely ordered. Dong Min closed the door. Tran Hung listened to her husband very well, immediately closing the door. I conveniently locked the door. Looking around the bedroom, I smiled lightly and said, You look quite healthy, don't you? Surely still strong enough to endure a little bit, right? Dong Min pursed his lips tightly, pulling a gun from under the pillow, pulling the safety, aiming straight at me. I laughed. Oh, even have an illegal gun? Didn't you handle scenes very cleanly? Planning to clean me up too? He pointed the gun at me. Dong Min, you think I don't dare kill you? I tilted my head slightly. Seems I overestimated you. Turns out your family doesn't know what kind of person you are. Living like a normal doctor, pretending to be a model husband and father. How does it feel? Not saving people nor directly killing people, just standing in the middle silently enjoying the feeling of controlling everything? I counted to 3. He pulled the trigger. 3 gunshots rang out in the room, but outside no one heard anything. I opened the door and walked out. Tran Hung saw I wasn't injured at all, screamed in fear, intending to rush into the room. I held her tight, pinning her against the wall. She screamed in panic. New, Tran Hung, hubby. Save me. Save me. Dong Min slumped out of the room, pointing the gun at me. Dong Min, let her go. I didn't bother to care. I just gently stroked Tran Hung's cheek, tone gentle. Your husband goes out to kill people then comes home to sleep with you. Does it make you more excited? Dong Min shouted angrily. Dong Min Hung, don't listen to her nonsense. She's crazy. I burst out laughing. Is that so? Does she really not know anything at all? Tran Hung was so panicked she burst into tears, covering her ears with both hands, screaming. She struggled, but I still held tight, pinning her to the wall. She asked me trembling. Tran Hung, are you planning to call the police? As soon as the words ended, Dong Min's face went pale. I lowered my head, pressing my face against her forehead, gently stroking the rim of her ear, feeling her tremble with fear. Then I looked straight into Dong Min's eyes. Your acting is too poor. Planning to be a killer, but getting exposed as soon as you act. Planning to be a normal person, but couldn't even hide it from your wife. You really are useless, nothing to be proud of. I asked him, is your wife still a gentle, obedient wife in your eyes? Then I looked down at Tran Hung, whispering softly. And you? Are you satisfied with your husband? If not, why not let him go find someone else? Both people in the house collapsed. Injured, Dong Min dragged each step down the stairs painfully. I saw the nanny had run away long ago. The 6-month-old baby still lay in the crib giggling, knowing nothing. The child didn't cry at all, seemingly not realizing anything unusual. I gently poked its cheek, then took out lipstick to put a small dot on its forehead. Be good, bear with it for a few days. Then I turned and left. Returning home, Jong Nin was surprised to see my clothes had 3 scorched holes. She asked, Jong Nin, what is this? Who shot holes in your shirt? I replied cursorily. Hakimi bit and tore it. Hakimi barked woof. Jong Nin, listened to what you were saying? Dragging people and dogs together? I laughed softly. There are too many things lately, I have to go finish a few more tasks. Hakimi will stay with you temporarily. Jong Nin, you're still not done? I'll bring food for you. I hesitated a bit, then said, just leave it in front of the door. She nodded. Jong Nin, all right. I went to that bastard's house, naturally couldn't go empty-handed. This time I opened the computer, installed software connecting directly to 7 surveillance cameras in Dong Min's house. This system was originally installed by his wife, Tran Hung, to monitor the nanny. Besides, she also set up a high-end smart anti-theft system, museum grade. Interesting. Do you know the reason why overly complex security systems are easier to hack? Precisely because they have too many loopholes. When I turned on the camera, the couple had been locked in the house. All doors were locked from the outside. Dong Min was still calm, but Tran Hung had almost gone crazy. She kept screaming in his face. Tran Hung, it's your fault. It's all because of you. The baby in the crib cried until its voice was hoarse. Dong Min tried to calm her down. Dong Min, calm down, check on the baby. But Tran Hung laughed coldly, voice full of hatred. Tran Hung, the biggest mistake of my life was having a child with a killer. Dong Min probably never imagined that his always obedient wife would become like this. He slapped her. Tran Hung yelled. Tran Hung, now you plan to kill me too? Saying that, she ran away. Dong Min picked up the phone, appearing to want to call for help. Just then my phone rang. I picked up, laughing softly. Forgot to tell you, your phone number now, besides calling the police, can only call me. I stood right in front of the surveillance screen. His eyes looked straight at me through the camera. A long time later he asked, Dong Min, what do you want to do? I was nonchalant. What do you think a scammer would do? Dong Min, what exactly do you want? I smiled faintly. Told you already, killers don't have choices, understand? He angrily threw the phone to the ground. But just a few minutes later he called me back. This time his voice was calmer. Dong Min, let's negotiate. I asked him, how many girls have you kidnapped? He answered without hesitation. Dong Min, 12. How many alive? Dong Min, all dead. Praiseworthy calmness. But I knew he was only calm because he believed that verbal testimony alone wasn't enough to convict him. So troublesome. I sighed. Then I don't have any special requests either. I'm just curious, how confident are you about your scene cleanup skills? He was silent, gripping the phone tight, not knowing what he was thinking. I continued. Your fridge still has enough food, can provide for your wife and child for a few more days. Let's see if the police find you first or your house runs out of food first. Saying that, I hung up. I don't know when he captured those girls, how they reacted. Maybe some went crazy, some knelt down begging, some tried to think of ways to trick him. But all of them died, and died very miserably, because this game rule eternally only has the hunter. It's just that, sometimes the hunter can also become prey. Now is the time for him to practice getting used to the game of being dominated. The next morning, Tran Hung had calmed down. She held the baby sitting on the sofa, breastfeeding as if nothing happened. Dong Min struggled all night finding ways to break locks, break windows, but he underestimated the security system his wife paid to install. He shouted angrily, Dong Min, why did you mess with this useless pile of junk? Tran Hung laughed coldly. Tran Hung, just because of what you did. What if someone breaks in here to kill me and my child? Dong Min was silent, sitting down on the sofa, holding his head with his hands. Want to sleep? Enough to sleep? As for me, I didn't sleep at all last night. Based on the photos of the victims, I reconstructed the entire scene. Time was limited, the images were a bit rough, but I added an extremely vivid voiceover part. Seeing both husband and wife had calmed down, I directly broadcasted that video on the TV in their house. Through the camera, I saw the house was quiet, the three people saying nothing. Suddenly the TV screen lit up. The image of Dong Min brutally torturing a girl appeared right in the middle of the living room. The sound rang out clearly. The girls screamed, cried begging, Dong Min's voice full of excitement. Tran Hung screamed in fear so much she threw the baby onto the sofa, rushing to turn off the TV. I burst out laughing. She thought turning off the TV was enough? I used the remote to turn the video back on, increasing the volume to the maximum level. Dong Min shouted angrily, rushing over to smash the TV. I turned on the speakers in the house again, continuing to replay the recording. The couple threw things, smashing everywhere, especially Tran Hung. She almost went crazy. They smashed speakers, smashed phones, smashed all devices capable of emitting sound. But the sound didn't stop. Finally, the couple looked in panic at the surveillance camera. I observed from afar, discovering Dong Min's hand was completely deformed. It had been broken by me, plus extreme exertion when smashing made his fingers distinctly twisted. But seemingly he didn't feel pain anymore. He calmly picked up the phone to call me. He said coldly, Dong Min, do you think just these few petty tricks can scare us? I looked into the camera, curled my lips in a smile. You're fine, but what about your wife? As soon as the words ended, Tran Hung grabbed a huge vase and smashed it straight onto his head. Dong Min fell to the floor. She rushed to pick up the phone crying and begging. Tran Hung, please spare me. Please spare my child. I have nothing to do with him killing people. I clicked my tongue pouting. Oh, if you had called the police the very first time he killed someone, those girls wouldn't have died, right? Tran Hung cried loudly. Tran Hung at that time I just gave birth. I burst out laughing. So you believed he loved you? You even thought a serial killer loved you, that you could control him? Truly funny. Tran Hung froze. I laughed softly. Tran Hung, you're not an idiot, are you? You know very well what kind of person he is. I once investigated Tran Hung's file. While in university, she once bullied a female student, causing that girl to jump off a building to commit suicide. But thanks to excellent acting skills, she completely escaped punishment. Even when the victim's suicide note named her specifically, the victim's family still believed she didn't even know the victim. Just like that, a few years later, she completely whitewashed herself, becoming a gentle, innocent White Lotus, then successfully married a tycoon. Dong Min suffers from an Oedipus complex. In his eyes, women should be like his mother, weak, gentle. He hates ambitious girls like his stepmother. Ironically, he married an exact version of his stepmother. The funniest thing is, on the wedding day, Tran Hung even used a sock puppet account to post a status on Weibo. The weak can only be buried under the mud forever, while the strong will achieve happiness, attached with a photo of her smiling brightly in a wedding dress. Now I smiled lightly, saying to Tran Hung, I gave your husband two choices. Either die or call the police. To be fair, I also give you two choices. Kill him or let him kill you. Do it. After all, this isn't the first time your hands have been stained with blood, is it? Saying that, I hung up. Public or secret? I wanted to see how these two top predators would fight each other. Tran Hung was still holding the phone, unable to react, when Dong Min sprang up from behind her. He snatched the phone and smashed it hard on the ground. Dong Min, you dare call the police? Tran Hung stammered. No, Tran Hung, I will call the police. He choked her immediately. But just then the baby in the crib cried loudly, making him hesitate a bit. Tran Hung broke free, running towards the crib, hugging the baby tight like a protective talisman. A 6-month-old child still doesn't have long-term memory. Waiting until it grows up, it will probably forget these two beasts are its parents. Dong Min held his head, running upstairs. I watched Tran Hung trembling, standing there saying nothing. She wasn't stupid at all. She could calculate, knew how to use men, but essentially was still just a climber relying on power. As for Dong Min, he studied crime, understood the law well, knew how to act discreetly. However, he was still just a man. Who wins or loses this match remains to be seen. The next morning, Tran Hung flattered Dong Min again. She even carried the baby down to the kitchen to cook breakfast. He started to have some doubts, seemingly finally realizing his wife wasn't as simple as he thought. But then Tran Hung shed tears. She spoke to him with a voice full of grievance. No, Tran Hung, when I was pregnant I felt you changed. I suspected you, but I didn't dare investigate. I just thought if you betrayed me then only I would suffer, not to the point where someone had to die. Dong Min looked at her. She continued softly. No, Tran Hung, but after you killed the first person, I realized you didn't love them at all. After that sentence, she completely controlled him. I watched the surveillance screen, slightly curling my lips. Tran Hung was very patient. For 3 consecutive days, she coaxed Dong Min. Even if small arguments occurred, she quickly found ways to reconcile. Seeing her gradually regain the initiative, I thought for a moment. With her file, it probably wasn't easy to reopen the old case. Then should she win this time? I turned on the microphone and said one sentence. Tran Hung, by the way, say it, how did you bully your classmate back then? Pushed her to what extent? Tran Hung went pale. Dong Min was stunned. Dong Min, you used to bully classmates? Even caused someone to commit suicide? Tran Hung was completely shocked. I continued speaking. Does you killing 12 girls have anything to do with me? My voice was cold without any emotion. Tran Hung, your husband always claims to have high moral standards, do you know? Then I gave a faint smile. You befriended that girl, gained her trust, then sold her to the thugs in school. But physical beating wasn't enough to satisfy you, right? You prefer destroying others mentally. Dong Min's face gradually became ferocious. He slapped Tran Hung hard on the face. Dong Min slut. Tran Hung screamed frantically. No, Tran Hung, are you sick? You yourself are the killer. I laughed coldly. The two of you are the same. Only difference is he chose to kill those with moral stains, while you chose innocent people. Tran Hung finally realized the situation was becoming dangerous. She said, trembling. No, Tran Hung, hubby. Hubby, don't listen to her. She is tricking you. I spoke gently. Dong Min, you pursued the ideal of a perfect woman, finally married a wretched woman. He lost control. He took off his belt and beat Tran Hung mercilessly. Dong Min always pursued the model of a perfect woman. That was the biggest obsession in his life. His biological mother did nothing wrong but was still divorced by his father, simply because men didn't know how to cherish her. Finally, his mother jumped off a building to commit suicide, or was forced to jump. I waited to see how Tran Hung would resolve this chess game. But then Dong Min suddenly fainted due to excessive blood loss. The plot is so boring. Tran Hung's body was fragile and weak, beaten to the point of fever. Through the camera, I saw she had a high fever but still held on. As for Dong Min, his condition wasn't any better. He lay motionless on the floor for a while, then dragged himself towards the bedside cabinet to find medicine to take. He stared at the camera asking me, Nam, Dong Min, if we die, sooner or later the police will find you. How do you plan to retreat? I replied nonchalantly. Need to ask? Just think about how scammers usually escape. Nam, Dong Min, are you a scammer? I burst out laughing. Compared to trash like you guys, I'm just getting started in the profession. Saying that, I cut the call, ignoring his screaming in the camera. I didn't bother answering. 2 days passed. Tran Hung tried to get up, but the medicine room was occupied by Dong Min. She staggered, trying a few times, but was pushed away by him. She cried. "No, Tran Hung, anyway, I have to breastfeed the baby." Dong Min spoke coldly. "Nam, Dong Min, you still have a fever, still demanding to breastfeed?" Tran Hung sat flat in front of the door, initially speaking words of love, but later gradually turning into curses. He didn't react. Finally, she thought of another way. She started cursing her own daughter. "No, Tran Hung, your daughter will grow up to be raped too. She will die miserably just like those children having a father like you." Dong Min angrily opened the door, rushing out. Tran Hung hid a knife in her hand, stabbing straight at him. But she only hit his arm. What a waste of opportunity. Dong Min lost control, beating her up. I looked at the camera screen, somewhat bored. Except this time he lost control much more heavily than the last time. Typically, serial killers have a habit of objectifying victims. They have no empathy because they don't consider victims as fellow humans. But once they perceive the victim as a human, someone with a direct connection to them, their psychological system will begin to collapse. Especially when they think of their own daughter. Good job, Tran Hung. Although you look like you're about to be beaten to death, you managed to drive a nail into his psychology. 7 days, exactly 7 days, also the time period Dong Min usually tortured his victims. The police broke down the door, rushing in. I felt a bit regretful, but also quickly wiped all traces, deleting all data of hacking into his house system. Before I turned off the camera screen, the last image I saw, Dong Min holding his daughter with one arm, Tran Hung lying motionless at the foot of the stairs. He mumbled something. I rewound to study his lip shape. He said, so fast. Clearly, he was still not resigned. After 7 days locked in the house, finally I stepped out. Just getting downstairs, I saw Hakimi surrounded by a group of kids petting it in all sorts of ways. Woof. It wagged its tail, running to greet me. I turned my head, looking up at the TV screen broadcasting news. Missing public worker Ms. Tan has been found. It is known that Ms. Tan has been missing for over 20 years. Her parents passed away. Only a nephew still never gave up searching for her. On the screen was the image of the crazy woman. Her real name is Tan Nusi. Suddenly Hakimi barked, turned its head looking at the TV, then intended to run away. "Nu, Jong Nin Hakimi." I grabbed its neck, pulling it back. Jang Nin asked bewilderedly. "Nu, Jong Nin, what happened?" I held the struggling dog tight while saying, "Probably it recognized its old owner." Then I called my brother. "Hey, if it's too troublesome, tell Tan Nusi's family to come here for a trip." Her nephew, Tan Tien Ka, is a very filial person. He immediately led the police to find her. As soon as seeing Tan Nusi, Hakimi immediately went crazy, jumping up, surrounding her, constantly barking and rubbing its head against her. Tan Tien Ka was extremely surprised. "Nam, Tan Tien Ka, how is this possible?" I shrugged. "Did she raise this dog before?" I explained. "I picked it up near the cemetery, but it's unclear since when it followed her. But the first time I met her, this very dog bit my boot." Tan Tien Ka suddenly froze, mumbling. "Nam, Tan Tien Ka, could it be she survived until now only thanks to the companionship of this dog?" Just as he finished speaking, Tan Nusi sat flat on the ground, hugging the dog, rolling on the grass. The scene was strangely chaotic. Then they led the dog away. Jong Nin suddenly burst into tears. She didn't keep it, just turned to scold me. "Nu, Jong Nin, you are too much. You let me bond with it all this time, now let people take it away." My brother stepped forward, frowning. "Nam, brother, what is too much?" I thought for a moment, then asked him, "Is this case over?" He yawned, answering, "Nam, brother, it's over. Now I just want to go home and sleep for 3 days and 3 nights. I pulled his arm. "Hold on, reveal some info." Brother, actually there weren't as many thrilling details as I thought. The biggest breakthrough in the case still relied on forensic identification techniques. And the most important clue came from Entong's cremation area. When first arrested, Entong was extremely arrogant, attitude domineering, always acting like a knowledgeable person. He only chewed over a few sentences. I never saw him. The corpses outside weren't taken by me. I just took wages. But when the police mentioned ID, human world peace, he suddenly paused for a few seconds. He replied, I'm just a deduction enthusiast, implies I won't be allowed to talk online. The police asked further, but why do deduction enthusiasts like you frequently discuss pension and insurance for cremation staff? At that moment I understood. Turns out this was the breakthrough in the interrogation. My brother sighed. Brother, that's right. The police only needed to trace back the data to gather evidence. He continued, speaking depressedly. Brother, there were a total of 12 victims, but up to now only the ashes of 3 people have been found. If the remaining victims cannot be found, how to organize the memorial service? Then he also said the police department is planning to organize a media interview to warn society about hidden cases. I understood immediately. Justice doesn't just lie in arresting criminals, but more importantly, it is deterrence. If wanting to completely resolve this problem, then one cannot just search for the killer, but must also eliminate those who worship crime. I asked further. What about those sick people online? Brother, there were several girls who were harassed who reported to the police. The cybersecurity team is handling it comprehensively. It's sad, those perverts take the moral standards of criminals to apply to society. That's good then. My brother looked very tired, originally just intended to drink Jiang Nin's coffee then rest, but hearing me tell the story, he suddenly became wide awake. Brother, did you hear about the Dong Min couple activating the security system in the house, smashing all electronic devices, barricading themselves in the house for 7 days until we came to arrest them? I raised my eyebrows. Doing that because of a guilty conscience? My brother stared at me. Brother, this matter isn't related to you, is it? I was startled. How is it related to me? These days I just stayed at home. Brother Humph. Precisely because you stayed at home it's suspicious. I calmly ignored it. Think whatever you want. My brother let out a breath, seemingly waking up from his sleepiness. But just then Jiang Nin suddenly ran over, face full of worry. Jiang Nin, what's wrong? Did something happen? My brother swallowed back the words he intended to say, just instructing one sentence. Brother, nothing. Remember to be careful, safety matters. Waiting for Jiang Nin to leave, my brother lowered his voice saying, Brother, anyway, Dong Min is a vicious killer. Let me sleep asleep then calculate later. You go back to sleep too. I laughed softly, saying nothing. After my brother left, I returned home, opening the cabinet drawer. Inside were 3 bullets lying quietly. When Dong Min shot at me, I dug the bullets out of my body with my own hands, and immediately after my wound healed. When seeing this, he was frightened to the extreme. Since that moment, his psychological defense line began to collapse. He once asked me, "What exactly are you?" I couldn't answer that question. I only know that I am a child my father picked up from a mass grave on an ancient battlefield. My simulation ability is extremely strong. My body is extremely resilient. From childhood to adulthood, never been sick. Wounds on my body can heal immediately. Besides, every time I get injured, my body feels like something is awakening. I don't know what it is, but I don't like it. So I always try to suppress it so life can peacefully continue.